What if I told you that you might be robbing yourself of the very thing that you've always wanted to see, Georgia football dominate? We're going to talk about that tonight on the How About That Dogs Cast, and we're just going to jump right into it because this is the golden age of college football. This is the golden age of Georgia football in particular, and some of y'all are too stressed, too cynical, or living too much online to actually enjoy what we're living through today. I know I'm old enough, you can tell by looking at the gray in this beard, I've seen enough days where Georgia was hoping to compete, was hoping to win, was hoping to be able to run with the big dogs of the sport at any given era. I remember growing up and watching, yes, the Nebraska Cornhuskers absolutely crush teams in the 90s in every facet of the game. And I often wondered, how can you do that? How can you build a program that does that? And then there were the early 2000 Pete Carroll USC teams. That was absolutely a dynasty. People threw that word around like crazy. And over the last few years, I've talked about, well, I'm hesitant to call it a dynasty. But then when I bring other people on the show, they say, well, if you're going to point to this, this, and this and say those were great teams and dynasties, then you really kind of have to say that about the era of Georgia football that we're living through. That is our reality. Yet there are so many Georgia Bulldog fans who are out here acting like it's 2008. Those days are long gone, my friends. There are people who are watching games in 2024 and now heading into 2025 with a full expectation that they are going to just be expecting heartbreak. I have even been guilty of saying, I've got too much Munson in me. I think something's going to happen here. Because that's the way I grew up. I get it. But this is not 2008. This is a completely different program. It's a completely different head coach, a completely different roster. Georgia can be up by 3 touchdowns. But if they're not up by 3 touchdowns in the first quarter on the first 3 drives, you got Georgia fans online pitching an absolute fit, making a fool out of themselves.
I can't take it too far, Todd. If you listen, help!
Now listen, you can be any kind of fan you want to be. Free country. You can do whatever you want, but just know it's not a good look, because these are the same fans that are going to turn around and be like, yeah, the Dogs had them the whole time. We crushed your team. Yet, in the first quarter, they're out here throwing everybody under the bus, saying everybody's awful. You know what I mean? You know the fan. The fact that you know who I'm talking about is why I decided to do this show tonight. It is exactly the reason I wanted to sort of put it on the table and just let you guys look at it, because if you find yourself doing something like that, I want to just encourage you to back away, take a deep breath, and enjoy the ride. There are 5 ways that Georgia fans are robbing themselves of the joy of this era of college football. We are entering year 10 for Kirby Smart on the heels of 9 consecutive top 3 recruiting classes. We have seen 2 national championships. We've seen 3 SEC titles in the last few years. We've seen ungodly records at home, against opponents, on the road, out of conference. It doesn't matter. By any metric, this era of Georgia Bulldogs football is the best ever. So don't get lost in anything else when you're talking about Georgia football these days. What we need to do, and I'm going to include myself in this because, like I said, I've been guilty of pointing to the fact that I have a little Munson hangover left. Even after all these years, what we have to do is make sure that we upgrade our football watching operating systems. This edition of Kirby's Dogs are not losing to Vandy. We are stuck with the emotional wiring from the Mark Richt years when this is the best era in program history. Every close game is not a disaster. It's football, and that's what we have to remember. So the first of the 5 ways that Georgia fans are just robbing themselves of the joy of the game without living in the moment, it's that. Stop acting like it's 2008, because it's not. It's 2025. And this bunch of Bulldogs, well, they have their sights set on something completely different. In a down year, the Georgia Bulldogs went out and won the SEC championship in 2024. The year before that, if it weren't for the wrong loss at the wrong time, they would have had a chance to potentially three-peat, which hadn't been done in college football since the 1930s. And even on a roster that's uber talented but has questions all over the place, people are looking at this year's Georgia Bulldogs team, and you'd be hard-pressed to find anybody that doesn't have them in the top 3 when it comes to odds to win the national championship. That is just our reality, and I'm really kind of I know it feels funny, but this happens every year around this time because people have been away from football for too long and they start thinking crazy. And they just start talking about stuff that don't make any sense. And it's all fine and good because we're going to be into football soon enough and nobody's going to remember. But man, it's hard to see Georgia fans be out here acting this way. And again, I'm with you. I have been guilty of it myself. So let's not do that. I'm encouraging all of us this evening. Let's not do that. Another way that Georgia fans really do just strip the joy out of watching their dogs stomp opponent after opponent is that we spend our time obsessing over the polls, the AP polls, the CFP polls, or how many stars some recruit has. And if he doesn't have a certain number, then he's no good, the coach is no good, the program's no good, recruiting's down. Come on now. I just said it. 9 consecutive years where the Dogs have finished with a top 3 recruiting class. The numbers are too crazy right now for me to just rattle off to you how successful Kirby Smart has been in terms of New Year's Day bowl games, college football playoff games. Those records are just as crazy as the regular season records that he's racked up. Yet here we are, we get hung up on it. Georgia was disrespected here, or they should have been there, or the seating was wrong, or whatever it is. I mean, it doesn't matter. Or maybe it's Feinbaum. Maybe he's the one who's twisting the knife in you as a Georgia fan right now, saying something he's always against us, or ESPN's always against us. Media is media. They're going to do their job. And yeah, it's fun in the off season. It's fun. That's what we get to talk about. I get it. But let's not let that rob us of the experience that's coming this fall. Let's not let whatever happens when the pundits start talking after the game or on Monday morning ruin what has hopefully been the glow of another Georgia victory and the anticipation of the week ahead. If we could all be just like Kirby Smart and the players, college football would be so much less stressful for most of us. Because I know it sounds like coach speak, but because of the way they run the machine in Athens, it is how things go. You play the game, you have 24 hours to process whatever it is you want to process, and then you move on and you leave it behind because the game that just happened has zero bearing on the next game. And it's folks like me and in my professional life that have to fill hours and hours of television programming who like to dissect and talk about these things over and over and over. And if you're a fan who consumes a lot of that media, and it doesn't have to be legacy media, it can be on TikTok or wherever you get your information. If you're consuming a lot of that and all you hear is people saying the same thing over and over and over, we're human and it gets you ginned up. And then you're focused on something that's not what I want to focus on as a fan, which is my team. How did last game go? Okay, how's the next game going to go? What did I see from my team? Did they grow? Did we improve? Were there any major injuries? That's what I choose to focus on. I try my best not to get wrapped up in the national media talk, right? It's hard, I know, but I try. And I would encourage all of us to do that because having been on the other side for more than 25 years, trust me when I tell you that it is about twisting the knife. It's about getting that response. It's about getting us to watch as fans. It doesn't matter if we love what they say or if they hate or if we hate what they say. It doesn't matter as long as we're watching. But let's not obsess over it. Let's just compartmentalize it. If we could be like the players and the coaches, I think we might all be a little bit happier. And if you don't believe me, just look at what Kirby says. We didn't build this program for one-hit wonders. We built a program to sustain. We believe this program is going to be around for a while. And it's like I said, what he means by that is he's saying it's not 2008. These are not the Mark Richt years where you could expect 1 or 2 losses every year that you didn't think should happen. It's a different world. And we're talking about the CFP and the AP or what Paul Feinbaum said or how many stars some recruit has. All the things that, help us pass the time here in the off season are the very things that rob us from the experience when the games are going on. Wait. I'll get right back to the show. But I want to take this opportunity to let you know about the Ring the Bell newsletter. Each week, I break down the mindset, strategy, and culture behind Georgia's football dominance. But of course, that's not all. You'll also get exclusive podcast updates and episodes. You'll get deep dives about Kirby Smart and Georgia football, real-world lessons on leadership, content strategy, and growth, stories from the sidelines and the press box, and first looks at new content, free resources, and community drops. Not to mention my top hitters on social media every week. And oh yeah, there's the discounts. So are you in? Be the first to know. Be a part of the team. Join the program and sign up for the Ring the Bell newsletter in the description down below. This is not just a newsletter. It's a movement for dogs who lead. This next one is a big one. And I know you know. That fan who, for some reason, thinks that they are more fan than you are, right? Everybody can have their own opinion about the team, but this guy, he thinks he is the guy, the Georgia fan. He's the one that actually gets it, that actually understands, that's actually watched Georgia long enough to have an opinion that has more weight than yours. That's right, I'm talking about gatekeeping real fandom. This one is insidious because even the best-hearted fans among us, sometimes we can slip into this position. We don't mean to, but you see somebody who you know is a bandwagon fan. But at the same time, it's okay. Why can't they cheer for Georgia? Why can't they? If we can enjoy it, why can't they enjoy it? This guy, this fan, this Georgia fan, just because he has all the stuff in his house, or maybe he has a certain sort of something sitting on a shelf somewhere that proclaims him in his mind to know more than you, he thinks he is the determining factor. He has the power to decide who actually gets to cheer for the dogs. It's crazy. It's crazy talk. It's crazy. It creates an exclusive joy-killing culture inside the program among all of us dog fans. This sort of activity is the kind where instead of barking back at you if you give them a go dogs, they would be more inclined to you shouting go dogs and then them just sort of cocking their head sideways and rolling their eyes. All the while wearing the G, wearing the red and black, and thinking somehow that we were doing it wrong. Come on now. Don't be that fan. Don't be that guy. And if you know somebody who's that guy, or if that person's in your group, then listen, everybody can do what they want to do, but at best have a friendly conversation with them. At worst, you might just have to make your circle smaller, because I personally don't enjoy hanging out with a fan like this, because what they're doing is just sucking the energy of the game right out of me. I feel like I can't be myself. Even if we've known each other forever, maybe I feel like I can't be myself around this fan because he's going to judge me. And I care so much about him that his opinion actually matters. All of this is crazy talk. It's all crazy talk. But it's one of the biggest reasons that people can go through a football season and not actually enjoy what's happening. It doesn't matter if Georgia's 10-0. They can still find a reason to tell me that I can't cheer because I don't live in Athens, or maybe I chose to give up my season tickets, or whatever it is. It's all crazy talk. So let's not be that guy. Can we agree that that guy is not a guy that any of us want to hang out with? One of the other ways that Georgia fans rob themselves of the best experience they could ever have as a college football fan while we are living through it is forgetting to savor the victories that Kirby Smart and his Bulldogs have brought us over the last 9 seasons. It feels like forever ago. And obviously, all of us are getting older every day. But 2016 was a season, and I remember it very, very well, where I had extremely high hopes for Kirby Smart and the trajectory of the Georgia Bulldog program. I had a vision of what it could be if things went just right, if things went just the way I wanted them to go, and certainly the way I hoped they would go. And 2016 was a little bumpy. There were losses in that season to Vanderbilt. There were losses to Tennessee on the Hail Mary. Injuries, were dealt with that season. There were a lot of moving parts as Kirby was trying to figure out how to build the program and exactly what to do with them moving forward, right? Who was going to be a part of the core as he built his program out moving forward. There were a lot of questions. And then 2017 happened, and the miraculous leadership of Nick Chubb, Sony Michel, and the rest of that group that came back, and the belief that the 2017 team displayed as they led Georgia to a national championship appearance, to a Rose Bowl victory, with a freshman quarterback having took over after an injury to the starter. It was so improbable in so many ways, but it was because of the kind of program that Kirby was building that they were able to achieve such great things. It was because of the kind of players that were in the program, that core that I mentioned before. It was because of what he was doing then that allowed that 2017 team to make such great leaps forward. Little did we know that the same things that helped that 2017 team do so much better were the things that were eventually going to lead Georgia to win back-to-back national championships, that were eventually going to lead Georgia to where we are today under Kirby Smart. Heading into year 10, being easily in the top 3 as a favorite to win the national championship again on a team that has more questions than answers as we sit here in June. Let's not forget to savor the victories. What I see too often, especially in this space, is fans immediately nitpicking every missed block or every play call right after a win. No time to enjoy the fact that Georgia just went out and beat another traditional SEC rival by 2 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns. They missed the celebration trying to prove how smart they are or how realistic or unrealistic I am as a fan because I have an opinion that doesn't line up with theirs, that I'm not immediately as critical as they are. If you've been around this channel long enough to know, I hope you would side with me in thinking I'm critical when it's warranted, when there's something we can point to and say that is a problem. But if Georgia has just defeated Auburn for the umpteenth time under Kirby Smart and done it by 2 touchdowns, I'm not going to spend the rest of that day talking about how poorly I may think they have played. I'm not going to do that. Because not only am I going to ruin the experience for myself, I'm going to ruin it for everybody who's with me. My wife loves the Dogs. My children cheer for Georgia because they know I love them. Why would I put on a sourpuss face and rob them of a beautiful game day experience? That's selfish. I'm not going to be that kind of fan. And yet I see Georgia fans all across Dog Nation's landscape doing that. And I'm not judging them, but I am calling it out because I know you can be better. You can be better for yourself and enjoy the season more. You can be better for the people around you so they can enjoy being with you doing something that you love, which is watching Georgia play. Let's remember to let the W breathe. There's always plenty of time to analyze, break down, all of those things. But celebrating is a strategy too. And I think it's a strategy that maybe we all ought to try purposefully to employ more here in 2025. Because as I've said, this year is a year that although Georgia can be great, they can do wonderful things this season. It is not going to be a straight line from the Marshall game to Miami in the national championship. This thing's going to have switchbacks. It's going to have roundabouts, maybe a U-turn or two. Hell, we might even get lost along the way. But it's going to be great because that's what football is. The challenges have to be overcome, and once they are, it makes the victory that much sweeter. I'm old enough to where I want to savor that experience. I can't take it for granted anymore. I can remember 1996 watching Coach Donnan in the rain, Hines Ward, Mike Bobo, and Kirby Smart on the field taking on Texas Tech and fighting for our lives to get out of there with a win. Crazy game, wonderful memory, but I know what that feels like. I also know what it feels like now, thanks to Kirby Smart and the program he's built, to see Georgia defeat TCU by the largest margin in championship game history, to put a bow on a 15-0 season and make it back-to-back national championships for my dogs. My perspective is pretty vast. I am much more comfortable settling in where I'm settling in tonight, which is trying to make myself remember to enjoy the ride, because there are times when it's not a whole lot of fun. But the era that we're living in right now certainly is a lot of fun, and I'm going to be present and in the moment. That's where I'm going to be, and I want you to be there with me, because that's what's going to make it even more fun for both of us. In today's modern society, one of the ways that Georgia fans, college football fans, humans in general, are just getting it wrong, I think, is that we are choosing to live more online instead of in the moment. We are forgetting to be present in the experiences that we have chosen to involve ourselves in. And we end up, in our worst moments, screaming at people we don't know about stuff that ultimately doesn't matter. All because that's where our energy is focused. We are choosing to live online in a way that maybe we're going to look back on in a few years and think better of. We're like, probably shouldn't have done that. Spending more time on Twitter or YouTube or whatever platform you want to be on, arguing with people from other fan bases just because we can. And it's robbing us of the experience of enjoying and celebrating the victory with our people, both in real life and online, rather than arguing with a troll who's jabbing you just to make sure that they are getting you riled up and getting your attention. Why not come to a space like this and fellowship and community with dog fans who view the world the way you do and who want to celebrate what the young men who are representing the university that we all love so much? Let's celebrate them. Let's do that instead. That's a choice. People love the drama. They love the back and forth. They love the, I got one over on that person. But at some level, not only does it mess up our fandom, but honestly, I think it messes with us as people. You can say it's all in fun and we're moving on, but I don't know. I just think on some level, we would all be better off if we can just avoid it. And I can tell you, after having been here and saying what I say on this program every Wednesday and hundreds of other videos and a lot of other different platforms, a long time ago, this is a lesson that I had to learn. I had to internalize it and keep it, which is the people who deserve my attention, the people who deserve my consideration and my appreciation are the people like you who show up here on the live streams for the podcast, who watch the videos, who support the channel, not the people who want to throw stones at the program that I love or at the content that I produce. I'm never going to meet these individuals. And odds are, if I did, I'm not going to change their opinion of the topic anyway. So I choose to spend my time talking about the Bulldogs, observing what they're doing, and enjoying the community that we've built here on the platforms and across all of my socials. I am blessed enough to be able to say that there are over 55,000 people who choose to listen to what I have to say about these topics. Why in the world would I not give those people infinitely more consideration and attention than I would give anybody who's out there wanting to just drag me down into the mud with them? I would say this has saved my sanity. It is part of the reason I'm allowed to, I allow myself to continue to come on here and be with you guys, because it is truly enriching for me to be able to hang out and have these conversations about something I truly love with people who genuinely want to have that conversation with me, rather than people who just want to drag me into a fight. I just chose years ago that I'm not going to let that happen. And as a Georgia fan, living through the best era of college football that Athens has ever known, I would encourage you to not let other fans do that to you. Don't let them rob you of what's happening in Athens right now, because whatever their program is doing doesn't matter. It has zero to do with what your dogs are doing. If you don't believe me, all you have to do is listen to Kirby Smart. He has told us. Remember when he was hired in 2016, one of his main thrusts at his initial press conference was that we are all in this together. That is the only way that you can have the kind of program that Georgia has had over the last few years. It's not just the coaches and the players. It is not just the people who buy season tickets. It's all of us. It's everybody in the building that's a part of the program, all the staff, all the people who support the players. It's all of us out here in the community who, when I say go dogs, you go, hell yeah, go dogs, not anything else. We're not arguing about whatever's on the news. We're talking about the dogs. That's what we're there for. That's why we're in this space. We're here to talk about the dogs. Now, we can mention other teams. That's fine. Sometimes it's actually relevant, right, for perception, perspective. But we're here to talk about Georgia. Kirby told us that when he got here. If you need a reminder, here it is. He said this just recently. You win these games at home, and maybe you take it for granted if you win so many games at home. But I know this. It's hard. These teams are going on the road all across the SEC. You make it hard on them by what you do and what you create, meaning the fans. So it's not about a specific point in time. It's about all of us pulling in the same direction. All I can say about that is amen, Kirby Smart. Amen. I'm shouting it from the rafters because it's not just flowery talk. It's not just an idealistic version of what college football can be. In an era where you have all sorts of professional, sort of grown-up kind of things pulling at the fabric of the sport, forgive me if I choose to want to hold on to the idealistic idea behind what it means to root for the University of Georgia, for the G on the helmet and the red and the black. I've said it many times here before. I have long been someone who chooses to cheer for my team rather than a player. And if a player chooses to leave and go somewhere else, good on them. But I'm not worried about you anymore because you chose to not be a Bulldog. For players who choose to sign up to play for Georgia and Kirby Smart and my alma mater, then you have my support. You will not catch me come on here or any platform and degrade any player in particular. You will never find me come on here and call out any coach in a degrading manner. It will not happen. Criticize, yes. Based on fact or what we see in the game or what the tape shows, absolutely. But it will always be within reason because that sort of constructive conversation can make us all better fans. It can make us all better people who are in the ecosystem when it comes to talking to each other about something we love. And ultimately, it's going to help us support the team and the players. Because the thing about social media is it's not in a silo. Now, do I think that Kirby or anybody's watching my stuff? No. Do I think that any of the players might see anything I put on Twitter or Instagram? Not at all. Sometimes they do. And that's how I know what I'm telling you is true. What I post is not in a silo, but I'm not thinking that they're going to see it. The reality is, though, that they might. Is it going to wreck whether a player chooses to come to Georgia or not? I don't know. But is it going to help if they see me saying crazy stuff about them? No, of course it's not. They can say all they want that, man, social media is social media. It's not real life. But come on now. These are young men who have mamas, who have daddies, who have sisters and brothers. These are young men who have feelings and are still finding their way in the world. And not all of them are emotionally mature enough to be able to handle the kind of stuff that comes along with being a major Division I recruit. The most calloused Bulldog fans among us will be like, well, that's tough. It's what they signed up for. They're getting paid. Come on now. If you were blessed enough for that person to be in your life, to be your son or your daughter, if they were a major athlete and trying to get into a university somewhere, do you want them to be seeing that sort of toxic environment online? Do you want them to see that? Do you want them to take it in and make it a part of who they are? As a father to two, I can promise you, I don't want that for my children. They can act as grown up as they want, but they're still human. So what good does it do? I say we should live in the moment. We should not allow ourselves to be dragged down into the mud by opposing fan bases or anybody else. We should enjoy what it is that Kirby Smart and this program have built and are doing as we head into 2025, because that's why we all signed up in the first place. All we ever wanted was for Georgia to be dominant. That's what Kirby Smart wants. I want dominance. I want to make them quit. Hell yeah, Kirby. That's what I want to focus on. That's the energy I want to keep every week through 2025. I am going to do my best to avoid the landmines of these 5 ways that I've talked about here tonight, where Georgia fans are just ripping the joy away from college football with our own hands. I don't want us to do that anymore. Georgia football is different, but it's not just because we win. It's because of the way that Kirby does it, the way these young men do it. It's because we win with an edge and a level of class and an unmatched culture. If you're not having fun, that's a you problem. That's not a Kirby Smart or Georgia Bulldogs problem. He's built the machine. It's producing at a level that Athens has never seen before. Your job and my job is to sit back and enjoy the damn ride, because that's what we all want. And being an alum of the University of Georgia, there's a part of me deep down that believes that Kirby Smart, who is a fellow alum, wants you to do that exact thing. He wants you to be proud of what they've built, proud of the university, and proud of the young men that make it happen. That's where I think Kirby Smart is. That's where I think we should focus our attention here heading into 2025. Georgia fans seemingly can't enjoy the good life. I know we can. I don't want to overstate it. But I also just want to offer a friendly reminder to you and to myself that as we head into the 2025 season, let's choose to not do the things that are going to rip away all of the happiness and joy that's associated with watching a program like our Georgia Bulldogs be as dominant as they are on the football field. Let's embrace it. Let's remember that football is football. It's not a video game, right? Things are not always going to go perfect. That the road is going to be windy and we might get lost along the way, but in the end, in Kirby we trust to lead us back to the holy grail, the holy land of football, which is the college football playoff, the SEC championship, and getting our dogs yet another victory on another Saturday night in Athens. Go Dogs!
Told them, how about them fucking dogs? That's what I told them.